everybody. My name is Tara. I am moderating this afternoon's panel for Kevin Conroy. Be voice up.
I am the knight. I am Batman. What a great turnout. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. So we're just gonna
Yeah. Well, I have a few questions to ask you, and we're gonna also open up the mics. You guys are at either corner of the stage. So I've got a few questions I'll ask throughout, but if you guys have questions, feel free to come line up with the mics. And first I wanted to ask, because it has been announced now, how excited are you to be back as Batman in The Killing Joke?
The Killing Joke. First of all, working with Mark, we're like yin and yang for each other. He brings out the best in me, and he said that I bring out the best in him. We just work so well with each other. Sometimes I feel like Batman wouldn't exist without Joker, and Joker wouldn't exist without Batman. We kind of define each other. And he's a very generous guy. He's a stage actor. And I'm a stage actor. That's where we both started. And when you're on stage, you've got to give energy to the other actor. And it's like, I always comparing it to playing ball when you're a little kid. The better you throw the ball, and you catch it, and then you throw it back to the other kid, you just get a good volley going. And if you're working with a good stage actor, you get a good volley going on the stage. And Mark is like that in the recording booth with me. We have a blast together. And if you could watch him record, I wish you could see him, he really physicalizes Joker, and his voice becomes like rubber. And before you know it, it looks like he's going to devour the microphone, you know? Hello, Bessie. And he's just like, he takes over the room. He's bouncing all over the place. So I love working with him. And then Tara Strong is in it too. I don't know if you remember the story, but that girl is a lot of the story. So all three of us together, we're so excited to come back together. And we're with Bruce Tim, who put it all together. So everything about it, you're gonna love it. You're really gonna love it. And the artwork, it kind of harkens back to the original Batman animated series. It's got that classic noir look. It's beautiful. So you're gonna love it.
All right. Well, since real quick, since with the stage acting, I have to ask, what was the favorite, your favorite play or anything that you were in on stage?
Well, people always ask me how I got into this business, and I always say, it's like that John Lennon line from his song, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. I didn't plan on being a voice actor. I didn't plan on getting into this part of the business. I trained at Juilliard to be a stage actor. And I started there when I was 17. I was the youngest person there. And I was on my own living in New York at 17. I got a full scholarship to go to Juilliard. I was supporting myself by being a mail boy in a mail room in Midtown Manhattan and waiting tables. I did everything young actors do. And then I got into the business and I realized I was training to get into the theater at a time the theater stopped being a thing you could really live on. That was a sort of era that was going out, and the only way you could support yourself in theater was by doing television and film. So on Broadway, you get all these film and TV people starring in Broadway plays. That was starting back then. And so I started doing television. And as I was doing television, I started doing more voices, commercial voices, and they brought me in for Batman. The first role I auditioned for in animation was Batman. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I mean, talk about grabbing the brass ring, you know what I mean? I walk into this recording studio and there's Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Andrea Romano, and Alan Burnett, who's this great producer. And this is all like the gold team, the gold standard of animation. And I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know who these people were. And they said, well, what do you know about Batman? And I said, well, I know the Adam West show that I grew up on. And they went, no. We all love Adam West. We all love that show, but that's not what we're doing here. So then they described to me the legacy, the incredibly dark legacy of the Dark Knight. His parents being murdered when he's a child, living to avenge their deaths, living a dual existence in the cave, misunderstood, tortured life. I said, my experience, what I was relating to was the classical training I had. And I said, you're describing the Hamlet story. That's a classic tragic hero throughout history. And they said, well, no one's made that analogy before, we go with it. So I just put myself in this very dark place, and I came up with this sound. It was very husky, kind of broody. And they loved it, and they basically hired me on the spot. So that was great, because they'd seen about 700 actors. No, literally, they looked at everybody. And so it was a weird marriage of hand in glove. It was just my background in classical training and theater brought me to an image of Hamlet, which brought me to this dark, broody place, taken very seriously. So I didn't go to a cartoony sound at all, which happened to be exactly what they were going for this new interpretation of Batman, who was a very Hamlet-like, broody, dark character. So it was just an odd mix of things. So that's my thing about life being what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. How could I have possibly known that that's where I would end up, given that journey? There's no way. But in a way, everything I'd done up until that point fed into it. So, long story short, that's what that's about. And people always ask me, why do I think Batman lasts so long? Why does he resonate with people? And I always tell them, read Joseph Campbell. Go to The Power of Myth. He was this great philosopher who studied mythology. And he noticed that all throughout history, whether you're talking about the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Romans, Old Testament, anything, every civilization has told stories through mythology using the same stories. It's almost like it's a collective subconscious going through all these different cultures of this tragic hero who's tortured by life. He goes through this very cathartic, burning experience, and he emerges like a phoenix as a savior character, or as a hero character. And it's an arc. They call it the arc of the hero's journey. We've got some good readers here. And so that's Batman. That's our culture's version of that. He's Orestes. He's Achilles. You know, he's that arc of heroism that's been told so many times. So he resonates with people because it's in your subconscious. You want that hero. You want that anti-hero, that tortured guy who overcomes everything. And he's just the embodiment of goodness. If you ever notice in the Batman series, no one ever dies. He never kills anybody. He puts them in Arkham. They get locked away. But no one dies. His goodness is so pure. And that's what inspires people. I hear incredible stories when I come, especially at Comic-Cons. I love interacting with the audience at Comic-Cons. I get great stories from people who say things like, there was a young woman in Chicago who came up and said, I've always wanted to meet you. You're the reason I got out of the projects. I grew up in the projects on the south side of Chicago. Everyone I grew up with is either in jail or dead. Literally. I got out, and I'm a professional because of you. And I said, wait. I said, you got out because of you. I said, and God bless you, you got you out of that. But how amazing that Batman, she said, but every afternoon I had your show. Every afternoon when other kids were getting in trouble, I had your show to go to. And you were teaching me such great lessons. Woo! Isn't that incredible? Yeah. And what a thing to be a part of. Woo! But I come to Comic-Cons and I hear stories like that of people, of the personal connection they have with Batman. And because I was the voice, they invest me with that power, even though I'm just the voice. But it's an amazing, intimate part of people's lives to have been a part of. And it's a real privilege, let me tell you. So you're the guys that make it worthwhile.
We're going to start on the left, and then we're going to move to the right, so on
Oh, I remember you. You got 8 things. She has a great collection of cells. It's great.
And thank you so much for being here. It means so much to all of us. So you actually answered a couple of my questions already. Is there something that you've hoped or wanted maybe a fan to ask you about, something that maybe you wanted to talk about, you were hoping maybe someone would someday ask you like about like inspiration about something that you like that you never got a chance to talk about before?
What? I get asked all kinds of things, so it's not. Actually, someone asked me something yesterday which kind of put me on the spot, and I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to share. He said, what have you learned in life? He was a young guy. He said, what have you learned in life? He said, I'm just getting out of college now, I'm just starting out. What have you learned in life that you would like to tell me, other than that, or from that? I said, wow. I guess the biggest thing I've learned over and over and over and over again is life throws curveballs. Life throws nothing but curveballs. And you can't get angry about it. You just got to learn how to hit a curveball. You've got to know how to bounce. When you get knocked down, you've got to know how to bounce back up. Because you're going to get knocked down constantly. I have been knocked down more times than I would care to recount. But you got to go. There's no excuse not to. I said, so just know that no matter what you plan on doing, Shakespeare, it's not going to happen. You're going to end up doing something totally different. But hopefully you'll learn things along the way. One thing will feed into the other. You'll grow as a person, and you'll constantly be relearning the same things, which is a pain in the ass when you learn the same thing over again. You think, I knew this. Why do I have to learn this again? But you will. You'll always be learning the same things. You'll gradually grow and grow, and hopefully you'll get to be a better person. So that's the kind of stuff I get asked. That's all.
Thank you.
Question, sir?
Hello. I wanted to ask, when you're at the studio and recording, do you feel a difference when you're doing video games or cartoons?
That's a very good question. Very good question. In the cartoons or the movie direct-to-video movies or any of the ensemble dramatic things that we do, we all record together. Warner Brothers likes to get the actors together. And so you record like in a radio play, where you have these 6 or 7 wonderful actors. And you, like I said before, you're throwing the ball to each other. You're working with each other, you're giving each other energy. And it's like people, back in '92 when we started doing the show, Andrea Romano said she could get any actor in LA she wanted because word had gotten out how much fun our bookings were. Because everybody was coming in. And everyone said, God, it sounds like heaven in there. You know, and it was just so much fun. She could get anyone in. You know, Ice-T came in once. He's like, I said, what are you doing here? I said, are you kidding me, man? My kids are gonna shit when they hear my voice. He said, I heard it's a lot of fun. And he had a lot of fun, you know. So they started getting all kinds of people. That's what recording the shows is like. Then it evolves into the gaming world. I didn't know that was going to happen. Who knew that was going to happen? And the thought, someone had this genius idea, all those incredible villains from Batman, you know, Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, Two-Face, all those incredible people are in the same asylum. They're all in Arkham. What happens if Batman gets trapped in there? I mean, what an idea for a video game. It was genius. So this comes up. So then they have to do video games. Well, the structure of making video games, think about it. Regardless of how it's played, which right turn or left turn you take, it takes you in a whole different journey through the game, right? There's millions of variables, or thousands of variables. They all have to be recorded. In Arkham Knight, the last game we just did, there were 37,000 lines of dialogue. Can you believe that? It's like War and Peace. And I felt like I had 36,000 of them, let me tell you. I felt like I had all of them because it took 2 years to record. And because of the way games are played, each line has to be a perfectly clean take. There can be no overlapping, no bleeding. So they have to record everyone separately. So you don't get that energy from the other actors. So we're all in there alone for 4-hour blocks of time, saying line after line after line after line after line after line. Now can you do a little irony? Line after line after line. A little anger, keep the irony. Line after line after line. Love what you're doing, just a little bit of humor in there. Irony, anger, humor, go. Okay. Line after line. I'm not exaggerating, it's that crazy. And after a couple of hours, you're like, how do you speak English? I don't remember that. Your mouth stops forming the right words. And at the same time, you're trying to keep the Batman character line, the Batman voice line. So it's really, and Mark is doing this trying to keep Joker's character. So, and you do this for 4 hours, they give you an hour for lunch, and then you do 4 hours again. And usually they do a week at a time, just you. By the end of the week, you're practically hoarse, your voice is starting to go. So they give you off for a couple of weeks. And then they bring you back in. And that goes on for 2 years. 2 years for each game. So people say, is it fun recording these? I always say, well, fun, that's not a word I choose. But the result is amazing. It's so, you're so proud to have been a part of it. But it's really grueling. It's definitely not why you become an actor. There's none of that interaction with an audience. There's none of the interaction with other actors. So there's even no through line to the character because you're doing everything bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. So it's really, the technical challenge for me is keeping the Batman character alive, keeping him human, keeping each reading, each take heartfelt, so it doesn't become just line reading. And that gets really hard after the first year. So it's a very good question. It's a totally different thing. The games are a completely different animal than the TV shows.
Do you, out of curiosity, have you ever worked on a game and also at the same time been working on the TV show and had to, so like instead of getting your 2-week breaks, you turning around and doing the...
I've done, not the TV show, but I've done the game while I've been doing direct-to-video movies,
Okay.
which is the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've always thought of that, you remember that scene in Chinatown with Faye Dunaway goes, my sister, my daughter, my sister. I sometimes feel like that as an actor, I'm Batman, I'm Kevin, I'm Batman. I get in there, what are we doing today? What are we, is this Justice League? No, oh, Arkham? Oh, okay. You're kind of unsure where you're plugging in.
Yeah.
I was in a repertory company once, and an actor came in and was all made up. He looked incredible. He was ready to go on his Lear. And we all looked at him and we said, we're doing Tennessee Williams tonight. We're not doing Shakespeare. He was getting ready for the wrong role.
All right, let's go over to the left again.
All right, so clearly you played Batman more than anyone else ever. And
Yeah, right.
deservingly so, obviously. So after all this time, do you feel a certain ownership of the character at this point because you played him so long in so many different versions? And what is it like looking at other people's portrayals? And then part 2 is, is there a moment in your career of playing a character that you, like, whenever you think of Batman, like, that's the moment you always go to?
The first question is a good question, but it's, I don't know if it's in my nature or if it's just the nature of the character. Adam West was incredibly gracious when he came on our show to do Grey Ghost. And he said, he said, boy, I had so much fun doing Batman for so many years. Run with it, have a blast. It's yours now, go have fun. And I did it for a number of years, and then Will Friedle came in to do the young Batman. And I couldn't have been happier for him. I said, you know, go with it. Come up with your sound. Do what you do without seeing the old roots. But I think it's. I love watching what other actors do with roles. I don't have any proprietary stake in that. I love seeing the different actors doing the live action Batman. Even though I don't think any of them are as good as the animated version. I'm not saying that because the actor just the animated version. No, I'm saying it because Batman is an animated character. It's just, that's his world. That's where it's the richest, you know what I mean? But to watch Michael Keaton and Christian Bale, all these different actors do it, I think it's great. You know what I mean? To watch what different actors do. Like, I thought Mark Hamill was the definitive Joker, and I still do. He was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Yes. And then Heath Ledger comes along. Yeah. And he just nails a different kind of a Joker, a different kind of crazy. So it was just, they're both brilliant in their own way. And you can really genuinely be happy to see different actors do the same role in different ways. What was the second part of your question? Oh, what moment?
Yeah.
My favorite Batman moment is, I think, in Mask of the Phantasm. He's at his parents' grave, and he's pleading with them to let him see. It's that bad. He gets it. It's an oh my God moment. He's pleading with his parents to release him from his sacred vow to avenge their deaths because he's finally fallen in love. And he wants to lead a normal life. He wants to come out of the cave. And yet, he can't. It's such a beautiful moment for me about the character. That to me is sort of the definitive moment. But there have been others like Perchance to Dream. I love that episode. Dreamscape, I love that. The wonderful thing about Batman is he inspires so many writers to do such great stories that there have been just a wealth of stories to choose from. But that moment in Mask of the Phantasm is one of my favorites.
Thank you very much.
My question is, how was the character of Captain Sunshine presented to you?
That's a funny story. Captain Sunshine. I have a confession. Sometimes you're just too busy to really prepare for an audition. So I haven't actually read it. It was described to me as a superhero sound. I said, are they going for the Batman sound? They said, yeah, I think they want the Batman sound. I said, great, I can do that. I'll just show up. So I thought, I'll get there half an hour early, and I'll look at the script, and I'll familiarize myself. So I figured I'm going to pull out, the Batman character from my pocket, because I was told that's what they were looking for. So I get there, and I start reading, and I realize, oh my God. This is a gay Batman. This is totally a double entendre, sexualized kind of. It's everyone's parody of Batman and Dick Grayson. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh man, they think I'm here to do this. What am I gonna do? So I go, I have another 15 minutes. And I went over to the receptionist and I said, I left something in my car. And this is New York. No one has cars. And she's looking at me, she goes, car? I said, yeah, it's down the street. It's got you. So I'm running down to the street. I go down to the street and I'm thinking, I can't do this job. Warner Brothers will kill me if I do this. So I'm walking down the street, I go down this far, and I'm thinking, I can't do it. Kevin, you're an actor. Actors do this. It's a wonderful character. He's funny. It's everything everyone ever said about the character that can be so funny. I said, you've got to go. Go do it. So I'm walking back and I go, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can't do this. Warner Brothers will fire me. I really need those checks. I like getting that money. I'm greedy. I want it. But you're an artist. You're an actor. You can do this. What would John Houseman say? What would everyone at Juilliard say? I'm going back. I'm getting back in there. And I started back in there and I thought, God damn it, I need to play. And I did this for like 15 minutes. I was in agony and I finally thought, I'm an actor. Going up there and do it all. And if Warner Brothers doesn't like it, damn them. So I get in there, the elevator door opens, and there are the producers standing there. And they're looking at me, and one of them looks at the other one and goes, you owe me $20. They had been watching me from the window. He's not coming. Oh, he's coming back. Oh, we lost him. Look, he's coming back. And they've been betting on me. What a great story. I love that story.
Hi, Kevin. I just wanted to say it's an honor to be in your presence.
Believe me, I'm the one who's honored to be in your presence. You guys are amazing.
Because growing up, I never really, as a kid, I never fit in with any group, and I always felt like a loner.
I get that from so many Batman fans. That's so
I could relate to your character, and
we're all outsiders.
I was raised with my grandmother, so my grandmother was my Alfred, basically. But I remember the one thing I would always look forward to after school was going home and watching Batman the Animated Series, because you and Mark just brought those worlds to life, and it was real to me, and so many hundreds and thousands of fans out there. I just want to say thank you.
Oh,
so much. I remember as a kid, after watching an episode, I'm going to take my action figures and reenact and do their voices and reenact and make my best stories. And so thank you. And I always have to tell people when people ask me who's your favorite Batman, I said Kevin Conroy is my favorite Batman then. He's my favorite Batman now, and he will forever be my favorite Batman. Because it's been driving me crazy. At the end of Arkham Knight, spoilers.
Wasn't that wild?
It was. But when Bruce Wayne enters his home, and Wayne, spoilers, and Wayne Manor explodes, okay, and, do you know what happens? Story? Is it going to be DLC? Is there going to be continuation of comics?
What would you like to have? Right to Rocksteady. Get them to make a new arc. That's what I said. I said, this is it? Is this really the end? I know. No, that was fine. Sorry. No, I can't give you any more than that. But I loved working on it. That ending was incredible for an actor to work on. But I thought, are they really not going to continue this billion-dollar franchise? They make more from games now than they do from feature films. You realize that in the studios? It's huge. As Donald Trump would say. It's huge.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
How soon into the recording of the game did you know that that's how it was going to end?
I didn't know.
You did? They kept it.
They don't tell you, everyone's always asking me for spoilers and what's coming up. They don't tell the actors anything. Because They don't want us to spill the beans.
Yeah.
I mistakenly, at a Comic-Con, a few years ago, mentioned a date that I had heard around the studio for the release of one of the games. I didn't think that. I knew not to say who was in the game. I knew not to say what was happening with the game. I knew not to say anything about the game. They made us all sign non-disclosure agreements. No one heard to say anything about a date. I didn't think it was a big deal. I said, oh yeah, I think I heard October. Well, I got a call from the vice president of Warner, who I've never met. Mr. Conroy, do you realize you were in serious breach of your non-disclosure agreement? We can sue you. Oh, wow, this is really serious. And short of that, we can bar you from ever working on anything in the studio again. I mean, they can really, you can be effectively blackmailed. And I said, you know, I just apologized. I said, no one ever told me about dates. I didn't say any character names. I didn't give any spoilers about what happens. I didn't say that was the date. I said I'd heard that date of many dates. I said you changed the date 3 times already. So who knows if that one's going to stick anyway. So then they were going to forbid me from going to Comic-Cons.
Never!
Yeah. No, seriously. And they said, well, we
would find
forbid you from going. You can of course go, but you'll never work for Warner Brothers again. So that was in effect saying you can't go to Comic-Con. And then we agreed they would calm down, they would let me go to Comic-Con, but there would be someone from Warner Brothers at the con watching me to make sure I didn't say anything stupid. And that went on for, maybe 6 months. That was a few years ago. They know I'm an adult. They know. They trust me. I love Warner Brothers. But they were nervous because this is, a $1 billion franchise, and they've got actors out there babbling. So they don't tell us anything because of that. So I don't know anything.
Okay, over here.
Hello. My question is, when you were working on World's Finest with Batman and Superman, if it was like a more longer, would you think there would have been like a fight between Batman and Superman, and who would win?
This is seriously a question. Batman, look, Superman has superpowers, right?
Superman cheats.
Batman has no superpowers. That's what makes Batman so cool. He's just warm, but he's got incredible intelligence. He would think his way out of it. He'll create his way out of it. He'll always triumph because of his intellect and his passion for something. Superman sees through things, he flies through things. He's a farmer. He's, the guy in a cave. Oh, wait a minute, Batman's cave. But I'm always biased. I always think Batman wins.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey.
I actually have 2 questions, if that's all right. The first question is, you started off with Batman the Animated Series, and as dark as it was still making sense for kids. How was your reaction when you went from Batman the Animated Series to more darker tone, like The Killing Joke and The Arkham video games?
Well, interestingly, the animated series originally was on Fox, and it was prime time. So it originally wasn't really geared toward kids. It was, we considered it an adult show that would also appeal to kids. That being said, you're right. They did darken the palette, and they darkened the stories as it evolved. In fact, a good example is, when I started out, I said, wait a minute. This guy is the richest guy in Gotham. He's the most eligible bachelor. He owns half the city. Everyone knows him. And he puts on a mask and no one knows it's him. Seriously? I mean, this is ridiculous. Why don't you let me play with the voice a little bit? Because wouldn't it make sense if he really is disguising himself? So that's when the 2 voice idea came up. And they loved it. As the show darkened, Bruce Timm said, okay, now that light playboy that you've been doing as Bruce Wayne is not going to work. And they had me go back and re-record a whole bunch of earlier episodes to bring Bruce closer to Batman. So there was a difference, but it was much more subtle. It was just implying, basically. The Bruce Wayne voice ended up just being my voice, and the Batman voice was, the Batman guy. But originally, the Bruce Wayne voice was more like a David Niven kind of guy. He was very ironic. There was a lot of sarcasm. There was a lot of color to it. It was a higher sound. It was fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a real playful. They decided that was too light. For the dark and show.
Do it. Do the voice.
Well, it's just basically my voice, but with more color to it. It's just basically that. I would have to have some material to read. It was just think of a Playboy, just a lighter sound. But so they did adjust for that. So there was a conscious decision to darken the show as it evolved. But then going into the games, that entered into a whole darker, grittier, crazier world. But for the actor, you're just being true to the character. You're playing the same role, given different situations. You're playing the same guy. And the audience, you all are in many ways better experts on Batman than I am. People come up to me all the time and say, in episode 134, when you said to the Riddler, blah, 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 what were you really meaning? I don't know what the person's talking about. But they do. The audience knows so much, because when you're in the middle of it for 24 years, you forget everything. You're just acting, you're doing it. So for me, the challenge has been to keep it real, to keep it fresh, to keep it true, because the audience would hear in a heartbeat if I was faking it. And so for me, it's been just keeping it real. So regardless of whether it's a very adult situation, like in The Killing Joke, or a lighter version like this new Justice League that we're doing now, is got a lot of humor in it, and there are a lot more colors in it. It's not as dark at all, but it's great. It's great. It's always Batman. And the funny thing, the funny situation in that is that it's this broody, dark, tragic hero Batman in a ridiculous situation. They change the situation around it, but the character has to be the same. Okay, great.
The other one I wanted to ask was, usually when people think about superheroes, they think about live action movies. So like when people think Batman, they think Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, and now Ben Affleck. But usually when people have asked who is the best Batman, it's usually you who's an animated character. And that's not something that happens a lot. People don't compare the animated Spider-Man to the movie Spider-Man. How does it feel so you know that even with all these amazing actors, you are still the best Batman?
Well, if that's true, I'm very, 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 very honored. But I think it has to do with the character, to tell you the truth. He is such a complicated, dark guy that the audience just relates to him so much more than they do Spider-Man or Superman or any of the other Aquaman or any of the other superheroes. There's this human quality in him. So it would make sense that the actor that gives the voice to the cartoon, that human quality to that very human cartoon, would be the one that resonates with the audience. It's a great honor to be so associated with this character. That's all I can tell you. Sure.
What he asked, especially with as the show got darker, did the way you prep for like really emotional scenes evolve, or do you have a sort of like prep phase that you go through when you have to do the really dark stuff in the show?
The thing about being an actor is, you prepare. I went to Juilliard and they're going to train me how to act. They're going to teach me how to act. And it took me a long time to realize you can't teach someone how to act. All you're going to teach them how to do is teach themselves how way, is to, because it's all about getting in touch with your emotions, getting in touch with genuine emotions, and giving that to the character, and creating a character with that. It's a funny business that way, entertainment business, because at the same time, the better an actor you are, the more vulnerable you are, the more of an open wound you are, the more in touch with really dark places in you that you are, that most people are uncomfortable with. But to survive in the entertainment business, you develop this incredibly tough skin, or you'll be crushed, because it's full of jerks. And it's a very difficult world. And you can't let them get you down. You can't let the bastards get you down, as they say. And so the only way you resist that is by having this incredibly short, strong skin. So isn't that a weird sort of dichotomy way to develop? You're developing more of a vulnerability in one way. The better an actor you are, the more exposed you are. But you can't live that way, or you'll be crushed by the business you're living in. So you have to develop this really thick skin. So when you get into the recording studio or on the stage, you can't learn how to act there. You can't figure out how to be in touch with those emotions there. You have to already know. So that when you're in that situation, boom, they come out. You know, you're just gonna react. So if you're really an actor, you've got that accessibility. So that it's just there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, we got time for probably about 2 more questions, guys, so we're gonna go over here first.
So you worked with Mark Hamill numerous times, and anything like that. But as far as the other rogues gallery goes, you're working with, say, David Warner as Ray Sean Google, or Ron Perlman as Clayface, or Richard Mall as Two-Face. How was it like working with them, as well as the connection that you had with Mark Hamill?
Well, that's the genius of Andrea Romano, is knowing who to cast, and the fact that everyone loves to work with him, that they'll all say yes. So as I was mentioning earlier, after the 100th episode of Batman the Animated Series was made, we started in 92, this would have been like in 94, around 94 or 95. Warner Brothers took out a 2-page centerfold spread in the Hollywood Reporter, which is the trade industry magazine, to thank everyone who had been involved in the show over those 100 episodes, and they listed everyone. I still have it in a scrapbook because it's like a who's who of who works in LA. It's amazing when you look back and think, all these people have been on the show. So that's a long way of saying it's really hard to pick who of all those people was the most incredible. Mark, I just have an unusual relationship with because of the Batman Joker relationship. But Ron Perlman is amazing. He was great as Clayface. Richard Mall was Two-Face. Penguin was Foley. So it was just, John Glover as the Riddler. John and I have done 4 shows together through the years. 2 of them have been Shakespeare on stage. I've been working with him I've been working with John since we were like 25. So it's been amazing. Oh, Adrienne Barbeau was Catwoman. She was so sexual. There have just been so many wonderful actors in those roles. And it's so much fun to watch them, bring them to life. It's been a trip.
Just one thing, my brother, who unfortunately is not here to see you, or is really not with me right now, I know from wherever he is right now, he just wants to thank you for all the amazing work that you've done as Batman as well too. So please,
well, your brother, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's such an honor to meet you, and for all of the fans here So throughout all the years that you did the voice of Batman, from the first time that you did the voice of to now from the Killing Joke, how has that overall experience been for you? Like, we know that you've been through bumps and curves that have been difficult for you. Have you ever not regretted one day to where you were the voice of Batman?
Have I ever regretted being the voice of Batman?
Was there like a difficult day where you just like, God, what's this crap again? Like,
No. I've never had a moment like that with this character. Isn't that amazing? And I'm not just saying that. He's just the kind of guy you think. I mean, doing these games, can you imagine 8 hours a day, line and line and line and line? I just want to pull out my hair at the end of the day. But not because of that, not because of the character. He is incredible. Because of the producers. But no, it's just life throws curveballs. What can I tell you? I had no way of knowing this was going to happen. And I'll tell you, every time you go to audition for a series, there's something called going to the network. They narrow it down. They see hundreds of actors. And for each role, they narrow it down to 4 or 5 different actors. And they bring you to the network. This is for live action, for like television series, or movies. And in each of the studio buildings, the executive buildings, there's a little stage, a real theatrical stage. And you go on the stage and you perform, like on a stage, like a play, for the president of the studio, the vice presidents, all the senior mafiosos who are there in suits. And they vote on who they want to have play the role. And invariably, there are certain types of actors who go up for certain types of roles. So all through my 20s and 30s and 40s, oh wait, I'm still in my 40s. No, I'm just kidding. I would go into these, be brought to the network. Because if you're a good actor, you always get to the point where you're being brought to the network. And you're up against those 3 or 4 other people. It was always the same people. And it was always a question of taste, of choice, of, one executive got in a fight with a redheaded guy in high school and so hates redheaded actors. So he'd always vote against him. It's that personal. It's that subjective. So it's that kind of business where you just never know what is going to lead to what. That was a long story to tell you. I know wonderful actors who would have been just as good doing what I'm doing, but just didn't get chosen. They didn't make the right choice the day they went in the room to do the recording. Or someone didn't like the way they said boo or something, you know what I mean? There's always a bunch of other actors who can do something basically as well as you can, but for one reason or another they didn't get it. And I always like to keep that in mind because it keeps your ego in check. And you remember, look, you're only here by the grace of God and luck that you happen to make the right choice that day. And there's a couple of other people who would do it just as well as you do. So watch your back. Does that make sense?
yes, sir, it does. And I got another. Can we go get free autographs in here?
For $40, yeah.
All right, guys, we're wrapping this up now. Thank you guys so much. Please give Kevin
And I'm going back down to the floor to do more signing.
Kevin! What do you think about Tammy and Wayne?
Got him.
It's amazing!